All right, we're back at Sidebar, and I'm joined by Terry Surles, Interim Administrator for
the Hawaii State
Hawaii
Energy
State
Office.
Energy Office. I just blanked out there. Terry, you were just up on the main stage with a great panel talking about rural electrification. So what are some of the future models for utilities and regulation in that area?
Well, I go back to some of the things we're looking at. Obviously, we've been charged by the legislature to look at utility business models primarily in terms of ownership. But I think the bigger question is going to be one of how are future grid systems going to be run. And I think that requires a change in how the regulators are thinking and also how utility management may be thinking. And that to me is going to be more important than than who actually owns the utility. And because things are going to change so fast. I mean, the new technologies coming into place in distributed systems and behind the meter systems, particularly as it relates to telecommunication, information gathering, cloud computing applied to the grid, are going to change what we normally think of as how a utility should work. And I think we're seeing it here first in Hawaii because of the large-scale penetration of intermittent renewables, but you're also seeing in a number of places on the mainland. So I think we're a harbinger of things to come. And so it's less important of who, and it's more important of how.
Well, yesterday up on the main stage, we had some discussions around innovation and how do you do long-term planning when you don't know what's coming down the innovation pipeline? So how's the State Energy Office looking at this, both from a longer-term perspective and take advantage of some of that innovation?
Well, as I start off by saying I'm here as an interim. I've been in Hawaii for many years. My first project here was actually in 1981, and I have been full-time here on 2 different occasions. But so that is a preamble. My view now with the State Energy Office is that to really do the right kind of job that needs to be done per your question, the office needs to be funded better. They're certainly on life support because of the current funding models that are occurring. So to the extent that we can look in the long term and do the right kinds of analytical studies, we're simply not doing them right now. And you see these things coming and you're relying on experts, you're relying on external expertise, but ultimately the State Energy Office is both the policy office, so they do need to know these things, and also they're the facilitator in terms of how do you bring together different groups here in Hawaii. So I know when I talked about this yesterday, a lot of people in the room I've known literally for a couple of decades now, and there's no reason that there shouldn't be a better way to facilitate people working together to get things done. And the reason I say this, and this goes back to where we're headed, we don't know which technologies are going to be winners. I mean, it was an interesting presentation up there of the new technologies and who might be the winner and which people were the most enthusiastic. We don't really know that. And in fact, I personally am opposed to any bill that comes forward that promotes a particular technology, because that implies that the government knows better in terms of who these winners are going to be, and we simply don't know. And it's a matter of the utility being flexible, their board being flexible, or in the case of the co-op, well, they still have a board, their management being flexible, and the regulators being flexible, because they may decide that something makes sense, And technology is going to run past them when you're going to realize, well, maybe it doesn't make that much sense after all. So, you know, my watchword here to this long question is that right now we're not funded to do any long-term planning. And secondly, anything we would do would be to facilitate people working together and for everybody to be flexible.
Well, we've got a big canoe that we've got to get everybody in, as we've been talking about today. But thanks for your perspectives. I've been with Terry Surles, the Interim Administrator for Hawaii State Energy Office. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks so much, Terry.
Okay.